As part of the auto layout, you might have heard of this layout word, right? Every time. How we can actually use this layout. And as part of the auto layout, when we apply the auto layout on any different type of frames, how we actually use all the different alignments, how this resizing will happen, how this flow section will work, how these alignments and gap can be managed between different components, what we try to use in our frames, right? These all things we'll try to cover in this today's session, and mainly how we actually use the padding. And if you guys don't skip till the end, for sure you'll learn something great today. Let's try to get into the tool and let's try to understand them one by one. Hey designers, welcome back. Welcome back to my channel Design with Pramod. Let's do designing together. As part of this course, let's try to understand the layout first. All right. Whenever we try to draw in frame, right, this is by default our layout, guys. And this is one layout, I would say. And when it comes to the flow section, right, this is by default enabled with the fee form section. When it comes to the layout, so if you see here, right, we can actually use the different dimension section. Like this is the width for me, and this is like a height for me. And if I want to change its aspect ratio, right, and there is one more thing what Figma has recently introduced, that is like aspect ratio. Whenever we try to use images or videos or any different sections, right, if we lock this aspect ratio, we can actually resize our element depends on whatever size we want. Its aspect ratio will be locked, right? So this is how we can actually use. And what is this clip content? If I actually put something here, right, let's try to fill this with some color, and we'll try to fill this for now with red color, right? So how this clip content will work, right? So let's say we have actually dropped this shape here, and if we don't have this clip enabled, right, let's say this is our shape right now. If I select the frame 40 here, that clip content is checked. That is why this shape, whatever we have kept under this layout, right, that is actually under this section. And if I disable this one, right, you see that, right, the shape is going out of this box. And that is about the clip content, guys. As part of the layout, we can actually adjust our width and height, right? So if you see here, right, we have actually locked our aspect ratio. This is why that blue color line was coming here. If you guys can see here, right, if you guys can see here, right, this blue color line is coming here. This is how our aspect ratio will change. Let's imagine that we have actually created some components somewhere else in our some design library. Then from here itself, we can actually use this setting icon, and we can actually use different types of libraries here. For now, I'm actually using some of the material icon or simple design system here. So that is why it is actually suggesting me these many different sizes you can actually use from. These width and height dimension wise you can control from your design system. That is how we can actually use this layout element, guys. We understood the layout now. Now let's try to understand auto layout, guys. Let's say we have our frame 40 here, and there are three different ways we can actually apply auto layout on this one. The first one is like by using the shortcut keys. So that shortcut key will be like Shift A. See this icon right to the right side. This frame has been applied with the auto layout. And the second option is I'll right click on this frame and I'll go to this add auto layout section. This is the second way we can actually apply the auto layout. The third way is like I click on this frame and I'll go here, and these under this flow section will go to this section. If you guys can see, right, that is actually applied with the auto layout, but whatever elements you put right under this frame, those will be vertically aligned. And if I click on this one again, that is also applied with the auto layout, but elements whatever we are actually putting under this frame 40, right, those will be horizontally aligned. I will show you guys when I try to explain the flow section. Once you are applied with the auto layout, right, for that frame, this auto layout header will be changed. And if I click on this free form, right, our auto layout will change to layout. This is how we apply the auto layout on any type of frames, guys, or any type of components, whatever we design, right? So if you guys can observe here, right, there is one more tricky thing here. So this is like whatever resize to fit. So this has a big shortcut again, but if we click on this one, right, so it will only work on non-applied auto layout, guys. But if you apply auto layout on the same frame, this icon will be disabled for now. So if you see that, right, so this frame 40 is applied with the auto layout now, but that resizing will not work there. If I go back again here, right, so this section will come here. I'll show you in a bit how these will work. Right, so this is about how we can actually apply the auto layout on this frame. And let's try to understand this flow section now. As part of the flow section, when the frame is not enabled with any kind of auto layout, right, so this will be enabled here. That is like a free form for now. So what does that free form mean? Let's try to draw one element here, and let's try to duplicate this element again, and let's try to fill these frames with different color. As part of this flow section, this is like a free form now, and this frame 40 is enabled with the free form. All right, so let's try to go and drag it here and this frame here. So what does that free form mean? Wherever you want any type of element, right, you can actually drag them here or anywhere into any kind of a frames. So that is the meaning of free form, guys. By default, this frame 40 is like a free form frame now. And when we try to apply this vertical alignment, right, as part of the layout, if I apply this vertical alignment, right, if you guys can see here, right, these two elements, whatever we had inside this frame, those are vertically aligned. So that is the meaning of flow, guys. You can actually flow your items vertically or horizontally. If with a single click you can actually change their orientation, guys. So that is the meaning of flow, guys. And if I go to the grid system, right, so these two elements are actually under the grid system. If I hover on this frame 40, right, and our frame 40 is enabled with the grid system, and now the one column and two rows are enabled here. And let's try to increase them to different way. If you guys can see here, right, those are under grid system. Let me repeat this again. What is the meaning of preform? You can actually place your frame or element anywhere into your any placement of your things. So if I disable this one, right, the auto layout will be disabled on this frame 40. And if I want to align my elements vertically, right, I just click this vertical alignment as part of flow, then all my elements will be vertically aligned. Let me enable this vertical alignment. If you guys can see that, right, this will be applied with auto layout. Whenever we get the auto layout, right, these different sections will be enabled for us. So let's try to align them horizontally. We can actually align them into horizontal way. And if I click on this grid system, right, so this will be applied with the grid system. I hope you guys understood the flow section clearly. Now let's try to understand resizing, guys. To work with the resize, we need to have this frame enabled with the auto layout, and that is my practice, guys. Let's try to apply auto layout. I'll use the shortcut key Shift A on this one, and we have this frame enabled with the auto layout, and the elements whatever we put under this section, right, those are horizontally aligned. Actually, if you see, right, the Figma itself understand, if let's say you are drawing the rectangle, then it is actually understanding that you want to align your elements into horizontal way. That is the smartness of the Figma, guys. That is frame 40 now. And let's try to put some elements here. So this is my one element, and this will be filled with some color, and that is my test color. And let's go and try to duplicate this one more time, and let's try to fill this with some other color. Maybe that could be the green. And these two elements what we have here, and to work with this alignments with the auto layout, right, will maybe we can actually, as part of the layout, we can actually manually change their sizes. But when we actually use the auto layout, right, so these will not respond with respect to whatever the sizes we want and how big these things will be there in the different types of scenarios, right, that will be a little tricky. So what we'll do for that reason, we'll try to apply the auto layout on this one. So by default, this is like the frame 40 is with the hug property enabled right now. If you guys can see here, right, so this has the fixed width, and this is like by default fill now. And if I want to change, so let me break this down in little clear way. So when it comes to the parent object, right, so this will not have This is like an outer container. This is like a parent container for us. So we cannot use the fill container. Let's try to understand different properties when we actually click on this frame, right? So we'll have two different properties. So this hug property and fixed width. And if you want to add the maximum width and minimum width, right, you can actually add them however you want. But if you click on this child object, so where this is a parent object, right, when you click on this child object, you will actually get this different properties like fill container and fixed width. If you get one more object under this frame, then again this will become the parent of the under frame whatever you want to put. So let's imagine this you have as a one more object, and this is also this frame. This should be the frame, and it should be applied with the auto layout. And let's say fill this with some color, and that is like black for now. And imagine this should have only hug, fill and fixed width, because it is the child of this frame 40. And this has the hug property, because if I click on this hug, it will actually give the equal padding between two ways, and this is how this hug property will work. But when I actually use the fill container on this child, right, so this is actually child of this object frame 40. And if I use the same thing here, right, to the fill, so this will fill with this container. So just see that magic, right? If I apply the fill container, so that will actually respond with the fill container. This is how these different fill container hug content will work. In the similar way, you can also use the resizing property for the heights as well. So if you see here, right, so we have one parent and two childs of that parent, and this is the child of this parent object. So what we can do, if I stretch this frame 40, so this is not stretching with respect to the whatever frame we have. But if I click on this one, what should be there? We should actually get the fill container. So height wise, we have the hug by default now. So we'll try to fill the container. If you guys can see that, right, here we have the same padding, here also we have the same padding. And the similar way, so for this one, if I want to have the same padding here, and if I want to have the same padding at the bottom, then I'll just apply height wise here to the fill container. So the same way, if I go here and try to apply the hug property on this one, right, what should happen? It should actually give the equal padding between top and bottom. That is why it is like hug for now. So this is how our resizing will work, guys. Let's try to understand alignments and gaps. So let's go here and try to build something interesting today. And I'll show you with an example how we can actually use this alignments and gaps, guys. So let's try to build simple header. So as part of the header, what else we want to have? Let's try to enter one app name here. All right, so let's throw and in here, I'll tell you guys what is the right way to apply the auto layout. All right, so let's go and try to apply the auto layout on this app name, and this could be your app name. All right, and when I use this one, right, so I use this way of the padding increment. If I hover on this one, right, and click on this one, so I can actually increase my padding this way. For now, I want to have 30 pixels right and 30 pixel left padding on, and let's try to increase padding top and bottom to 20 pixels. So in total, I want to have some 100 pixel height, right? So let's try to fill with some color, and this is how I have filled my color. And let's try to use some black color text here, and this is how I wanted to have. And let's try to use some dummy logo kind of a placeholder here. And let's try to, if I drag and drop some shape here, right, so you will see some guidance here. So you can actually drop this one here or this one here, and let's try to go and drop this one to the left side. And if you guys can see here, right, as part of the alignment, our elements are center aligned. So let's try to increase the width of this frame 40. And if you guys can see that, right, whatever elements we have there, those are actually center aligned. And if I want to use the left alignment, right, I can use align to the left, so that elements will come to the left side. And if I use the same thing to the aligning on the right side, right, this will align on the right. And if I expand this furthermore, right, And if I align this to the right top corner, and this way these things will be aligned. For now, let's try to go and use our width height wise to hug property, and let's try to align to the left side. I hope you understand how this alignment works, right? So this is how that alignment works. Now let's try to understand a little more further and this gap. So why this auto will be there and how much gap you want to have between this icon and this app name, right? You can actually manually manage your gap. So if I increase this to 20 pixel, right, if you see here, right, if I hover on this one, I can actually use my guidance to see what gap I have between this icon and app name. So this is how I can manage my gap, right? So if I want to increase little more, I can increase here. So this is how I can actually manage the gap, and I'll show you guys how this auto will work. All right, so let's try to reduce this to 20 pixel, and this is how I have my app name and app logo. And let's try to have some username on the right side. So let's try to have username, right? So now we'll try to group these two. Let's try to have some regular font, and the font color can be some 6 hexadecimals. So I want to have that little lighter, and this is how I have. So now what we are doing, we are actually using these different names, but I want to have this name to the right side. If I actually increase my gap between these different elements, right, if I increase this to 40, the gap between this name and this name will also increase, but I want to align this one to the right. If I stretch here, if I stretch here, right, so this is actually aligning to the left. If I go and align to the center, that is not actually working, right? And if I go and align to the right side, this is actually coming with all the different elements what we have here. So what I want to have, I want to actually align this app logo and app name to the left side and this Pramod name on the right side. So what we'll do, we'll try to go and try to align to the left side, and we'll go and try to group these two elements together, right? So by that way, what we are doing, we are actually using our elements. All right, so by this one, what we are doing, we are actually aligning this app logo and app name to the left side. Now we'll try to go here and try to reduce the gap between these two. We'll select this group here, frame 41, and where ellipse and text are there, and we'll try to select this one, and we'll try to select this frame, and we'll try to apply auto layout on these two, and we'll go and we'll try to apply fill container. But if you see here, right, if I change the color of this background to a little lighter, you will understand the difference. You see this, right? You have the dew here, but I want to have this aligned to the light side when we try to fill this one. And if we change this to hug, right, this will come till here. All right, but if we change this to normal size, it will actually disable the hug one, and now we have actually hugged this one. So let me change this to fill container. This is still there. Now the important part comes here, the gap, guys. So when we try to use the gap, right, we have actually given the manual with whatever fill thing, whatever we are doing to the child, right, this is not responding with respect to what dew we are filling under the container. So what we'll do, we'll go here and select to the auto, boom. So we are actually aligned to the right side. Now let's try to fill this with white color, and this is how we have our perfect header, guys. When it comes to auto, right, so if you can observe here, right, alignment section got converted into dotted way. And when we go here and stretch this one vertically, right, if I want to align those elements to the top, I can actually align them under this frame only. But height wise, if I give the fill container, this is how we can actually use our different properties different way, guys. So it depends on whatever cards you want to design or whatever things you want to design. This is how we play with our auto layout, guys. Isn't that interesting? Hope you understood something great here, right? So let's try to hug this again. Now let's try to understand the padding. So padding is very simple, guys. Wherever you want to use the padding, right, let's imagine that you have this frame. And if you see in the left side, right, this is padding. And if you see here, right, this is also padding. If you see here on the top right, this is also padding. And if I want to duplicate this frame, and let's align them vertically by applying the auto layout, and between these two frames whatever we have, right, so that is the gap. But if I see here and here, right, that is the padding, guys. If I fill this frame, and let's fill these with some different colors for now, and let's try to use this one here, and let's try to go here on this frame, and let's try to use some left right padding and top bottom padding. This is how we play with the padding, guys. If I want to handle them independently, right, so this is how we click on this icon here, whatever we see here, right, and this is how we can actually use the left padding customization, right padding customization, sorry, right padding customization, top and bottom. This is how we can do. And if I want to go to little advanced way, like I said, if you have these paddings defined somewhere into your design system, by clicking on this setting icon, you can actually fetch those design system paddings, and you can use the consistent one under your design system, guys. And that's it, guys. That is all about our auto layout, guys. By following this session, hope you guys might understood this auto layout, and this was very tricky for me when I started, but if you clearly follow this session, right, you will understand how we can actually play with the auto layout, guys.